Good evening, fellow Bitcoiners and, other investors and traders. Welcome to Simon's Trading Channel. Hope you're all very well. It's a Tuesday, only just though, bit of a late video. I've had a super duper busy day. So I hope yours have been fun and thank you for joining me for another one of my videos. Let's get straight on with the price action analysis after I've moved that silly thing out of the way. Now, I've put a little blue box of doom on here, although it's not a blue box of doom really. But it's an area of interest that I think is relevant. I think it'll become more relevant if the weekly time frame closes below the zero line, or gets super duper close. I mean, it's fairly close at the moment, so I use MACD as a momentum indicator, and you can see how close it is. Interestingly, of the bull run to date, this bull run to date, you can see the MACD basically crossed up during this segment, which I'm just trying to think back to when I thought, oh yeah, that's the bear market done. I think it's bull market time. I don't know if it was here. I think it may have been after this weekly closure. But regardless of that, the MACD picked it out, right? So it crossed to the upside, I think on this weekly candle, but certainly the next one. And then, it's been to the upside ever since. And you can see, I have to make the MACD super duper big. You can see that it got really close to crossing below during this massive consolidation period. So basically the price was pretty much going sideways and the MACD was cooling off. And then next big run up and the MACD came up and then the MACD's been coming down. But what's interesting is look how quickly the MACD's been coming down relative to the price, right? That's not a divergence by any stretch of imagination, but you can see, or you could hypothesize that, this cooling off of momentum, if Bitcoin doesn't break down, and I would suggest the blue box is its ultimate sports bra for support, then turning back up from near the zero line without breaking below the bottom of this blue box, which is basically at 45,000. It's also on there as the cross below the zero line level at the moment, although that will change the closer it gets to it. Then I just don't think that the situation has changed with regards to bull market, bear market. Now, there's sort of lots of tweetings and things going on about recession and all that. Well, whatever. Like those things happen all the time, and the markets tend to either have a bit of a short downside and then they march on up. So maybe this time will be different, but it never is. So I'm not particularly worried. I've said that a few times now. But anyway, for this week, there's still quite a lot of it left. That's a jolly small green candle at this point in time. And indeed, for this to turn green, Bitcoin needs to close out its weekly. I'm on Bitstamp for some reason, but it needs to close out its weekly, which comes in at midnight on Sunday above 63,000. Alright, so that's enough on the weekly for now. And for those of you wondering, I noticed with other channels, people don't sort of justify why they put sort of lines and boxes on. But the reason I put this one comme ça is that you can see these candle bodies here, so they're opens and closures, are all up against the bottom, and then that wick and that wick provided a support resistance line. So the combination, I think, gives you an area of interest for support somewhere between 49, which is already visited, and 45. I've talked about 45 before. It's also on my $15,000 hypothesis move that I think Bitcoin has done since basically hitting the macro low. Yeah, I don't want to see Bitcoin get down to 45, but do you know what? I'll be buying some if it goes down there. There's a giant spider just casually walks along my floor. Hello to you, giant spider. Hope you have a nice evening munching on flies. There we are. Okay, so that's all I got to say about that. Yes, I would be very much interested in buying some Bitcoin at 45. But it would be probably better for market sentiment and fear and greed if the bull run sort of continues without any bigger pullbacks than have already occurred. All right, daily time frame. Let's have a look at your boy. Now, I'll leave the big blue box on. What a big blue box you have, Simon. And momentum is still down on the daily time frame. And I don't know if you remember in yesterday's video, I was suggesting that if Bitcoin can defend this area, so daily closures, or was it the day before? It was probably a few days ago. I don't know, time flies. That would, to me, even on momentum to the downside, signify the daily uptrend is still intact. I'd say that's perilously close to not being intact, because you can see that the structure that would be along these lines, when I get out my brush, from a low, I mean, if you just take it from the closures, so this structure of low, high, higher, low, high, it's now sort of on the verge of being disrupted. But I think true disruption would occur with this sort of move. And that would be a nice head and shoulders. Because then, firstly you've got a lower high. That's probably the first thing you need for change from an uptrend to a downtrend. And then potentially that would turn into a lower low. So yeah, I'd be lying if I said to you upside is more likely at the moment. But I don't know. Like, no one can predict the future. However, momentum on the daily is to the downside and will continue to be red unless Bitcoin can close today above 59,000. And it doesn't really look like it's going to. But you never know. There are still just shy of 3 hours left. It probably won't. Anyway, how many minutes is that? That's 8 minutes. That is 8 minutes of your precious time. I hope you've enjoyed this little ride. And if you have, join me tomorrow for another one for Midweek Bitcoin. Take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.